Chapter 3. It's about a guy who. The next step in figuring out what your movie is about is to figure out whom it's about. As my wise old father used to say, tell me a story about a guy who. And after the concept, whenever I hear a screenwriter wind up to pitch his movie idea, somewhere in there I better hear some version of it's about a guy who. Why is this? Well, it's like anything connected with trying to communicate an idea. The guy who is our way in. We, the audience, zero in on and project onto the who, whether it's an epic motion picture or a commercial for Tide detergent. The who gives us someone to identify with, and that someone doesn't even have to be human. Why do mascot and spokespeople like the Jack character in all those Jack in the Box commercials, or any talking corporate icon for that matter, draw us into the story of the product being sold? It's because it's easier to communicate an idea when someone is standing there experiencing it for us. And whether we're watching Lawrence of Arabia as Lawrence tries to figure out who attacked Aqaba from the land, or Tylenol commercial in which a busy soccer mom wonders when her headache will go away, the principle of involving us in the story is the same. As screenwriters with a great idea for a movie, the job of creating heroes that will lure an audience into our world is unique. We have to create audience stand-ins that resonate for our target market and serve the needs and goals of our stories. And it starts from the very beginning with that target logline that looks us with someone to identify with as much as something. This is why in any logline, any good logline, there will always be a couple of adjectives involved. A risk-averse teacher who, an agoraphobic stenographer who, a miliquotist banker who. This also goes for the antagonist, who now must be described as an overprotective cop, a megalomaniac terrorist, or a homicidal baker. So let's add a few things to our list of the perfect logline must include to be truly compelling. An adjective to describe the hero, an adjective to describe the bad guy, and a compelling goal we identify with the human beings. By giving us even these thumbnails, sketches of whom we are going to be following, as well as the bad guy who is trying to block our hero from achieving his goal, we get a better snapshot of what is involved, so we can latch onto, get interested in, and follow the story. But how are we going to do all that? How are we going to satisfy our great story and create the right characters to sell it? Who is this about? Every movie, even ensemble pieces like Pulp Fiction starring John Travolta, or Crimes and Misdemeanor starring Woody Allen, has to have a lead character. It has to be about someone. It has to have one or two main people we can focus our attention on, identify with, and want to root for, and someone who can carry the movie's theme. As important as creating this type of hero is, and singling him out, even if we're writing an ensemble piece, the hero isn't always the first thing we think of, or the way we come at creating a can't lose movie idea. I hate to admit it, but I rarely begin writing any movie with a who in mind. More often it's the idea first. And if the hero is a part of the idea, well, that's just gravy. Many will tell you differently, and this is only my approach. But I think the who has to serve the what is it, not the other way around. And once you have that golden idea, that winning pitch, that perfect hook, and don't quite yet have the who, it's time to go to work to enhance the idea with the right characters, especially the hero of the story. It's all about making the what is it work better. In many cases, the key to figuring out whom the story is about and what type of person is leading the action is right there in your logline. In the scripts I've sold many times, the initial concept gave me the roadmap, and all I had to do was clarify. In Poker Night, a comedy Colby car, and I sold to Disney, the pitch is the characters. A henpecked husband finally gets the house to himself one weekend and loses it in a poker game to an unscrupulous gambler. It's risky business with a dad. Need I say more? To service that concept, all we had to do was play with the balance of the hero and the villain and make it about dad's journey from henpecked to empowered. Another comedy we came up with and sold to Universal called Third Grade has an equally simple premise. This is a story about an adult man who has to go back to third grade after being caught in a speed trap in front of his old school. The hero is ordered by judge to be sent back to third grade to learn some manners. Easy concept, right? But who is the best person to put in this situation? What person would offer the most comic conflict given that punishment? What hero would offer the longest journey and need to learn the bigger lesson? Any takers? Well, in the development process, it became clear the guy who needs that lesson most is someone who has yet to grow up. One on the outside, he is a successful businessman, a guy up for a promotion and at his work, designing violent video games for kids. Ironic, no? But who has yet to learn the basics of human being school? This is a guy who needs to go back to third grade but doesn't know it yet, and only this adventure will give him the comic lesson he so richly deserves. It's a sweet little movie idea. The poster is inherent in the premise. It's a guy in an Armani suit and a cell phone squeezed into a tiny desk surrounded by out of control 8-year olds and maybe a kick me sign tapped to his back. Get it? Well, of course you do, but the gimmick of sending someone back to third grade wouldn't mean anything unless we figure out the perfect hero to take that journey. Amping up the logline. Many times, your great initial idea will only give you a hint of what has to be done to create the hero that sells your idea best. To make the idea work, very often you have to play with the characters in order to give your hero the most conflict, the longest journey, and the most primal goal to amp up the idea for maximum impact. To make this clear, let's look at our logline cited in chapter 1 and, and tinker around with other possible who's for these ideas. In Four Christmases, all I know is that the two leads are a young couple. They both come from families of divorce and remarriage, thus, the problem of having to see all four of their families on Christmas Day. My guess is that this is a couple that wants to be together forever, but is having problems at the get go. They eschew their families and the problems they grew up with. They don't want to get divorced, but maybe it's not all peaches and cream. They're newlyweds. So this day will be a test for them. Do they want to go the way of their parents, or do they want to go their own way, form a permanent bond, and never get divorced? Granted, I have not read the script. I have no idea what the writers chose to do, but that's the way I'd go. And suddenly, given this very deep and primal urge, the urge to stay committed and be in love forever despite their families, this couple is worth rooting for. That's a movie I'd like to see because those are characters I want to see win. So swiftly, this easy premise has real meaning. We have not only identified the right characters for this story, but given them a built-in alpha and omega journey to take in the course of this movie. Now the story is the characters, and you thought it was just a funny poster. In Ride Along, part of the pitch, part of the mental picture that makes the idea crackle for me is the adjectives. A risk-averse teacher goes on a ride along with his brother-in-law, an overprotective cop, and the goal is primal, the love of the woman they both care about. Those adjectives tell me exactly where the story is going. It's a trial by fire for the teacher. Is he brave enough to overcome his fear and win the hand of his fiancée in the real world of manly crops? If he loves her, he will. But now let's take that same ride-along idea and try some different characters in their places. What if we could do anything with this basic premise? What if the young man who is wooing the sister is not a teacher but an ex-Green Beret? Well, now it's a different movie. It it warps the way it plays out in my mind. Now, to make the comic conflict come to life, you make the cop the scaredy cat. He is Barney Fife, and his future brother-in-law will be teaching him a thing or two between reminiscences of the Gulf War and a few demonstrations of his 1,000 yard stare. And odds are the ride-along would be the ex-Green Berets idea. Suddenly, it's a very different movie, isn't it? But it's another way to go. It just shows how you can have a good idea and absolutely wreck it with the wrong characters. To me, the original idea works best. In the example of the retreat again, the adjectives come into play to tell us the writers most likely did it right. The way they have it cast now, it's about a wet behind the ears. Read Young, company employee's first taste of corporate life at a weekend retreat, and someone's trying to kill him. Funny, but let's play around with the character to see other ways they could have gone with this same premise. What if the person going on the retreat is 65, has been at the company for 20 years, and is about to retire? Okay, so now it's about a company downsizing its employees for real before they can collect their retirement benefits. Same idea basically, a corporate retreat, a series of murder attempts, a paranoid who doesn't know why he's being targeted. But the journey is a lot different, and so is the moral, and so is the audience. No one will show up for that movie. At best, it's an indie starring Jack Lemmon, and Jack is, well, dead. The point is that amping up a great logline with the hero who makes the idea work best is how the idea comes to life. And let's be clear, the trick is to create heroes who offer the most conflict in that situation, have the longest way to go emotionally, and are the most demographically pleasing. On this last point, I have particular experience now that I am over 40. Nowadays, I must always catch myself when thinking of my movie heroes. In my mind, everyone is 40, and the heroes in my mind, the ones that I am personally drawn to anyway, are now all existential heroes. A little world weary and yet bravely wise. Yeah, right. And the audience that's going to show up for that movie is, well, AWOL, to be honest. But if it gets made, the French will hail me as a genius. Whenever I find myself drifting into thinking about writing starring roles for Tim Allen, Steve Martin, or Chewy Chase, I catch myself and realize where I am. Youth obsessed Hollywood. Those guys are fine in ensemble as part of a 4 quadrant family pick. Great, but as the lead. Never. Okay, rarely. My solution once I do catch myself and give up on trying to change things is to make that great character with the existential dilemma a teenager and make that married couple who's having a crisis a 20-something married couple. This is the crowd that shows up for movies. These are the heroes the audience likes to see on screen at their local cineplex. Why fight City Hall? The age of characters I think up is my particular blind spot. You have yours. But keep in mind that what our job is here, mass market, high concept poster movies for everybody all over the world. Do not think that just because you and all your friends prefer something or are in on a certain trend or fad or like a type of person that everyone else will too. I have actually been pitched a movie that the writers said was a great Julio Iglesias vehicle. I swear, won't everybody show up for the premiere? Mucho dubto. This is why I stress getting out and pitching your movie ideas to real people in the real world to get their reaction. This discussion of blind spots reminds me of a favorite story my father used to tell. He worked in advertising early on and one time was trying to sell a client on buying TV time on Sundays. The client, a wealthy man, balked at this idea and had a very studied reason. No one stays home and watches TV on Sunday, he explained. Everyone's out playing polo. A lesson in perspective for us all. The primal urge. As stressed throughout this book, let me just say again, primal, primal, primal. Once you've got the hero, the motivation for the hero to succeed must be a basic one. What does X want? Well, if it's a promotion at work, it better damn well be related to winning the hand of X's beloved or saving up enough money to get X's daughter an operation. And if it's a match up with an enemy, it better well lead to a life or death showdown, not just a friendly spitball fight. Why? It's because primal urges get our attention. Survival, hunger, sex, protection of loved ones, fear of death grab us. The best ideas and the best characters in the lead roles must have basic needs, wants, and desires. Basic, basic. Don't believe me? Then let's look at our three log lines and take out the primalness in each to see how our desire to see each one wanes. What if in 4 Christmases the lead couple isn't married? What if they're just friends who grew up together and share Christmas with each other's family every year? Same premise, but take out the sex and what have you got? No stakes. Nothing is on the line. It's still funny. It's still the same idea, but I have no primal rooting interest. Pass. In Ride Along, try taking out the sister fiance. What if the doofus teacher just signs up for a ride along with a cop, any cop? Well, in this Gin Rummy hand of primalness, I've still got survival. This teacher still has to make it through the night and there will be still risks to his life, but having the cop's sister, teacher's fiance, as the goal makes the stakes resonate with primalness. Again, as in the example in chapter 2, it's almost a knight errant tale, isn't it? But having the princess as the prize makes it work whether it's set in the modern day hood or the Middle Ages. One more, just to grind in it. The retreat. Let's take out the danger. What if there aren't any murders? What if it's all pranks played on the newbie executive? Well, what are the stakes? To make this idea work, you must have the threat of death. Otherwise, it's a corporate training film or worse, an existential metaphor. And yes, this is all about your hero. Give him stakes, real stakes, primal stakes, stakes that are basic, that we understand. Make the hero want something real and simple: survival, hunger, sex, protection of loved ones, fear of death. And when it comes to who to cast in your screenplay, we respond best to stories of husbands and wives, fathers and daughters, mothers and sons, ex-boyfriends and girlfriends. Why? Because we all have these people in our lives. You say father and I see my father. You say girlfriend and I see my girlfriend. We all have them, and it gets our attention because of that. It's an immediate attention getter because we have a primal reaction to those people, to those words even. So when in down, ground your characters in the most deep-seated imagery you can. Make it relevant to us. Make it something that every caveman in his brother will get. Make it say it with a now primal. Casting for the role of your hero. One of the pitfalls of being a savvy movie writer is knowing who among the acting set is looking to do what part next. Adam wants to do a drama next to get his Oscar nod. Ditto Jim, ditto Steve. After Lost in Translation, ditto everybody. We have also seen everyone's most recent movie, may or may not know what's in production next, and think we know who would be perfect for the movie we're writing. Let me state here and now, we do not know. This is all a long way of saying, don't cast the movie before you've solved the script. Don't write parts for certain actors. Don't get married to the idea of one particular actor doing the part. You'll always be disappointed. Rare is the occasion when dream script meets dream cast, and let me give you an example of learning the hard way. The Amazing Sheldon Ball, and I wrote a hilarious comedy in 2004. What if the president's helicopter goes down behind enemy lines? And what if he is forced to capture Osama bin Laden all by himself? That was our premise. It's about a president who finds his inner leader. It's Galaxy Quest with George W. Bush. Great, huh? We even had a great title, Chicken Hog Dawn. And here's why we did not sell the script, because there are about two people who can play the part of the president. It's the lead, and there really isn't anyone out there who can open that movie. Tim Allen was our first choice, and who else? Well, what we had done was paint ourselves in the corner on casting. Yes, it's funny. Yes, it's a great story. Yes, someday it will get made, by God. But right now, it just sits there. Hear the crickets? We are professional screenwriters and we should have known better, but we got so caught up in our idea, see, that we didn't think it all the way through. The point is to leave yourself plenty of room for casting. Your leads should be able to be played by many actors and actresses, and they should all be able to open the movie. This is yet another reason why young actors are in such demand. There's so damn many of them, and no, you don't know what part actors are looking for, even if you hear it from their manager. Even if the actor looks you in the eye and tells you that their next movie, the role he really wants, is a comedy where he plays a teacher, he's lying. He's an actor. Lovely, charming people to be sure, but skittish as thoroughbreds. They don't know what they want to do next, and neither do you. Actor archetypes. That said, why is it that certain actors always play certain parts over and over again? As hinted at in chapter 2, you find throughout cinema history that many of the big stars play one part really well. Think about Marilyn Monroe, Clark Gable, Cary Grant. Now think about Jim Carrey, Russell Crowe, Julia Roberts, and Sandra Bullock. It's not because these are not good actors who can do more than one type of role. Only that what makes movie work to a large degree is our need to be shown certain archetypes on screen. And the actors who play these archetypes now are just taking the place of the actors who played the same archetypes years ago. Isn't Russell Crowe Errol Flynn? Even geographically. Isn't Jim Carrey Jerry Lewis? Isn't Tom Hanks Jimmy Stewart? Isn't Sandra Bullock Rosalind Russell? The reason is that these archetypes exist to satisfy our inner need to see these shadow creations in our brain played out on screen. It's the Jungian archetypes these actors represent that we are interested in seeing. And if you always remember to write for the archetype and not the star, the casting will take care of itself. So while this may not be strictly Jungian, even though I got an A in Jung, let me instead give you some Snyderian archetype for your parasol. There is the young man on the rise archetype, a very American character that includes Harold Lloyd, Steve Martin, in his day Adam Sandler, and the omniversal Ashton Kutcher. Horatio Algersk, a little dumb but plucky, this is the type we all want to see win. There is the good girl tempted archetype, pure of heart, cute as a bug, Betty Grable, Doris Day, Meg Ryan in her day, Reese Witherspoon. This is the female counterpart of the young man on the rise. There is the imp, the clever and resourceful child, Jackie Coogan, Macaulay Culkin, and even their evil opposite, the bad seed, i.e. Patty McCormick. There is the sex goddess archetype, Mae West to Marilyn Monroe to Bridget Bardot to Halle Berry. And the male version, the hung from Rudolph Valentino to Clark Gable, from Robert Redford to Tom Cruise to Viggo Mortensen to Mr. and Mrs. Diesel's Pride and Joy, Vin. And the list goes on. There is the wounded soldier going back for a last redemptive mission archetype, Paul Newman, and now Clint Eastwood. There is the troubled sexpot archetype, Veronica Lake, Angelina Jolie, and the lovable fop, Gary Grant, Hugh Grant, and there is the court jester, Danny Kaye, Woody Allen, Rob Schneider. There is the wise grandfather, Alec Guinness, and now same beard, same role, Ian McKellen. There are magic dwarves and tricksters, sidekicks and talking animals, spinsters and wizards, Falstaffs and misers, and they keep on popping up. Over and over again, same characters, same function for being in the story, like knowing the history of certain story types, knowing the long line of ancestors your character descend from is a must. You don't have to be Joseph Campbell to see that no matter who's hot in casting call, the archetypes never change. Each one of these archetypes has a story arc we want to see played out again and again. And it's all about matching what we carry in the back of our minds to what we see on screen. Why deserves to win and why? Who deserves to win and why? Who deserves comeuppance and why? And despite the dictates of political correctness, fashion on fad, we still want to see justice meted out for characters we hate and victory granted to those we admire. The stories of these heroes and the mathematical equations that make their stories work is already sewn into our DNA. Your job, your simple task, is to forget the stars, concentrate on the archetypes, and strive to make them new. Special circumstances. And now for my bullheads in the audience, let's get to the exceptions. When it comes to creating the linear, straightforward movie hero, we pretty much understand. But what about the special circumstances? What about ensemble? What about biographical movies? What about animated movies where the characters come from non-relevant fairy tales? Okay, yes, There are always special circumstances, but finding the hero in all of these examples is the same method used to find them in any original one line or spec. Take biography. You've been handed someone's life story and now have to make a movie out of it. So, what if the hero isn't necessarily very likable? Or what if he or she did things that weren't all admirable? What then? Let's take a look at Kinsey. Those of you who know the story about the famous sex study pioneer Alfred Kinsey know that the screenwriter, also the director, Bill Condon, faced a problem. Kinsey was odd. He conducted sex studies on friends and neighbors, spied on his wife, and dabbled with his subjects in ways many might think of as objectionable. Finding the hero in that story also means finding a bad guy too. But if they can make a movie out the life of porn maester Larry Flint, the publisher of Hustler magazine, as they did in The People Us, Larry Flint, and make him out to be hero, well, why not follow the same formula? And that's exactly what Condon did. The writers of A Beautiful Mind faced this same problem with mathematician John Nash and chose to simply fudge some of the facts of his life story to make him more palatable. They dropped certain unheroic facets of his love life and merged two real wives into one for the sake of movie continuity. This kind of thing, with with the guidance of a good errors and omissions attorney, is done a lot. I myself grappled with a similar dilemma when I was handed the biographical challenge of John DeLorean, the famous automaker and creator of the DeLorean sports car. Imagine my surprise when my research proved him not to be a Tucker-esque maverick brought down by the big three automakers for his radical ideas, but some accounts a con man. All well and good, but who's the hero in that story? My solution was to make the hero the author of one of the books I'd read, a guy who had been inside the DeLorean empire from the start and grew disillusioned by both the man and his vision. By tracing the rise and fall of DeLorean from this insider's point of view and showing how he could be fooled, it gave the audience the way into that story. I even gave my script the ironic title, Dream Car. Your way into a biography has to pay attention to the same rules of any story. It has to be first and foremost about a guy who we can root for, or at least understand. Ensemble pieces can offer the same dilemma for the screenwriter, and as the examples of John Travolta in Pulp Fiction and Woody Allen in Crimes and Misdemeanors prove, the hero doesn't always have to be one with the most scenes, but ensemble does offer a unique challenge of finding your way in. Is this about, you keep asking? This piece with 12 characters, all with equal screen time. One of the masters of the ensemble, director Robin Altman, specializes in it. Nashville, Welcome to LA, and Shortcuts offer crisscrossing character sketches with no central lead. But Altman would argue differently. The city of Nashville becomes the star of Nashville, and Shortcuts and Welcome to LA stars the city of Los Angeles. Granted, these are not classic heroes' tales, but Altman found his way in and stuck to it. And by creating a new kind of hero to root for, he was true to the moral he wanted to tell. In an ensemble, like any story, the hero is usually the one who carries the theme of the movie. When in doubt, ask yourself who serves this function in your movie, who comes up against the other the others the hardest, and who grows the most. And pretty soon you're asking the same question you ask when finding the hero of any movie you're writing. Who offers the most conflict? Who comes the farthest emotionally, and who is the most likable? The one we want to root for and see win? That's the one you have to make it about. Animated tales based on existing material are often difficult challenges, especially when translating across cultural differences and time. Later, we will see how the hero of Disney's Aladdin went from being an unlikable street urchin in the original text, though one who was perfectly acceptable to the culture in which he was created, to an affable modern surfer dude. Likewise, in Disney's Mulan, Pocahontas, and The Hunchback of Notre Dame, the writers were presented with similar challenges and met with mixed results based on changes to the hero and how his or her story was told. But whether your cast of characters is a pack of prehistoric ice agers or a bunch of idiosyncratic insects, ants, a bug's life, the process of giving us a winning logline and the hero to star in it is exactly the same. The rule of thumb in all these cases is to stick to the basics no matter what. Tell me a story about a guy who I can identify with, I can learn from, I have compelling reasons to follow, I believe deserves to win, and has stakes that are primal and ring true for me. Follow that simple prescription for finding the hero of your movie and you can't go wrong. No matter what assignment, material, or sweeping canvas has been handed to you, you find the hero by finding the heart of the story. Slave to Logline. When you have found the perfect hero for your story and nailed down just what his primal goal is, it's time to go back to your logline and add in what you've learned to make it perfect. And if it sounds like I'm insisting that you become a slave to the logline, well, you're right. The logline is your story's code, its DNA, the one constant that has to be true. If it's good, if it has all the earmarks of a winning idea, then it should give you everything you need to guide you in writing the screenplay. It is, in short, the touchstone both for you, the writer, and the audience you're selling your movie to. If you are true to your logline, you will deliver the best possible story. And if you find yourself straying from it in the middle of the writing process, you better have a good reason. And this is particularly true when it comes to your hero. The logline tells the hero's story, who he is, who he's up against, and what's at stakes. The nice, neat form of a one or two sentence speech tells you everything. Nailing it down and sticking to it is not only a good exercise, it will become vital to your story as you continue to beat it out and eventually write it. By examining who your hero is and what his primal goal is, as well as the bad guy who is trying to stop him from achieving that goal, you can better identify and expand on the needs of your story. The logline with the most conflict, the most sharply defined hero and bad guy, and clearest, most primal goal is the winner. And once you identify your those characteristics and it works, stick to it. Use that logline to double check your result as you begin to execute your screenplay. And if you find a better way in writing, make sure you go back and re-enunciate it. But from beginning to end, making it about a guy who keeps you on track. And the logline helps you continue to double check your math from initial concept to fade out. Summary. Finding the hero of your story is the second most important part of coming up with a winning movie concept. Winning meaning one that will sell. Cast and concept is, in fact, the starting point of getting any movie made. What's it about and who is in it are the first two questions any moviegoer asks, and that goes for everyone else as well. From agent and producer to studio executive, it's how the who and the what it is come together in an intriguing combination that makes us want to see the story unfold. The perfect hero is the one who offers the most conflict in the situation, has the longest emotional journey, and has a primal goal we can all root for. Survival, hunger, sex, protection of loved ones, and fear of death grab us. It's usually someone we can identify with primally too, and that's why mothers and daughters, fathers and sons, brothers and sisters, husbands and wives make better characters than mere strangers facing the same situations and storylines. When committing these discoveries to your logline, you must have an adjective to describe the hero, an adjective to describe the bad guy, and a definite and primal goal or setting. Exercises. First, review your list of movies in the genre you are trying to execute and write out the logline for each. Give attention and great adjectives to the type of hero, the type of bad guy, and the hero's primal goal. Second, what actor archetypes can you identify from the list of movies in your genre? What type of character is the lead portraying, and what actors from the past could play those parts, as well as the modern day star? 3. Name an ensemble movie and identify its hero. Does every movie have to have a hero? Name other movies where the story requires no main hero. 4. Finally, if you feel really daring, try writing a logline for this idea. A guy gets a talking car. Knowing what you know about how to amp up the hero, the bad guy, and the primal goal, write a logline for that idea and make sure you use adjectives that grab us.